Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, powered by FanDuel Sportsbook.
All right, thanks very much, Paul. We appreciate it. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, where we take your calls at 412-575-2600. You can also tweet me at KD We have a lot to get into tonight, of course. A reminder, we have the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. It comes up after the late news tonight. It'll be around 12:08, just after midnight. Andrew Filippone will be part of that show, as well as Chris Mack and Jason Mackey, and we'll get into some of the off-season issues because it will be off-season here starting this week with the Steelers. Mike Tomlin will probably have his year-end press conference coming up on Tuesday, and we'll see what he has to say, but I'm sure there won't be a lot of answers at this point, just a lot of reflection and try to figure out what to do next. And they do have a myriad of things to deal with, like most teams do this time of year. But it all starts with the health of Ben Roethlisberger. They have to make sure that he is going to be able to be there and play a lot next year. And so far, that rehab has gone well, and Roethlisberger was pretty optimistic when he issued a statement about that just a few days ago. But even so, the Steelers need backup quarterbacking. If you've learned one thing about the NFL season, it's important to have good people behind. Mason Rudolph, I think, is perfectly capable of taking another step next year. We saw that in his game this year. I think, realistically, if he had not been injured last week, they would have beaten the New York Jets in that game. That's just my feel about it. And take nothing away from Devlin Hodges, who was an undrafted guy. He probably never thought that he would start as many games as he started this year. And what he did when he first came in is manage the games very nicely, building up a cult following with duck calls everywhere he went, and it was a great story. But it lasted 3 weeks, and then the NFL punched back and figured out a way. And, you know, essentially, I think people forget, when you're without your franchise quarterback, it affects all aspects of your offense. We're talking about not just audibles at the line of scrimmage. The run game is much better when you have a threat going down the field. Roethlisberger and his ability to, extend plays, to get out of harm's way, all of that stuff was missing. And I think it has a big effect on the team, regardless of other injuries you may have. That's the key injury, and now you realize what life can be like without a franchise quarterback. And the Steelers have to make sure they're insulated there, so that's going to be something they look for. As for backup, I think Mason Rudolph will be here. I'm not so sure now about Devlin Hodges, but they may be in the market for a backup veteran quarterback just in case, and there'll be plenty of them on the market. They also have their own people to deal with, and they have unrestricted free agents, and plenty of them, from Bud Dupree to Javon Hargrave to B.J. Finney, Nick Vannett, Sean Davis, who's been out all year, and Artie Burns, who has, regressed from a #1 pick to a guy who probably won't be around here next year. It starts with Bud Dupree. They have to tackle that situation first, what they do with him. It's going to command a lot of money. Are they willing to make that? And quite frankly, if they don't, they're going to be left without much depth in that department, opposite T.J. Watt. So it would look at this point like the leverage is with Bud Dupree and that he should get a franchise tag at the very worst. If he doesn't, he'll move on. And if he moves on, the Steelers now have a big need at outside linebacker opposite Watt. The problem is the draft only allows for a second-round pick in the top 100 picks because they traded their #1 pick away. They lost their third. They may get a compensatory third-round pick. They have 2 fourth-round picks, no fifth-round pick, a 6th and 7th. So it's not going to be solvable, all these issues, in one draft. They're going to have to go out and do some things in free agency. I do expect to see a tight end brought in here. They need help across the middle. They can't continue to not get production from that position in today's NFL. Disappointment, and quite frankly, embarrassing at times the way it ended with the botched punt, even though it was a good snap right into the hands of Jordan Berry, and then he dropped it, picked it up, looked like he was going to kick it the wrong way, was hit, fumbled, touchdown, instant points. Ensuing kickoff, you saw what happened there. Kareth White lost it, misgauged it, whatever the case may be. He's trapped in his own 5-yard line, sets up a safety, and that's how that game ended. 28-10 your final score. A lot of bad grades if you had to grade it today, but that's the way the season went. Overall, I thought this coaching staff did a great job keeping this team together despite these obstacles. Again, remember and keep in perspective, they were 1-4 at one point, facing the Chargers in L.A. with a guy who'd never played quarterback. So, who would have thought they'd rattle off 8 out of 10 wins and be in position to even have a chance at the end of the year, which is what they did. But It's a business, and they know that the end result is getting to the playoffs. And for the second year in a row, they didn't do that. So we want to talk about it with you at 412-575-2600. We also expand the conversation to include other stuff. West Virginia pulled off a big upset today on the hardwood as they beat number 2 Ohio State. Penn State won as well. Duquesne lost, and the Penguins are red hot. It is hockey season, and officially, for those of you who haven't been paying all that much attention, they're doing very well with their share of injuries there as well. So give us a call. It's 412-575-2600. You can tweet me at KDPump, and we'll have more of that coming up when we return right here live on Pittsburgh CW. The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, putting new roofs on Pittsburgh homes for over 25 years. Call Ireland Contracting at 1-800-NEW-ROOF.